What's up, guys? Drew here, thatanxietyguy.com, back again with Billy from Anxiety United in the UK.
Hello.
What's up, Bill? So we are going to continue our Anxiety 101 series this morning, and we're going through an article that I wrote many years ago. I will link the article in the video description on the website wherever you're watching, so you can go check it out. And we're going through an Anxiety 101 article that I wrote many moons ago, and we're just kind of going section by section. Today we're going to talk about symptoms, which is a popular topic, of course, but not so much talking about symptoms, talking about how to not react to symptoms, and that reacting to symptoms is one of the major things that fuels the cycle and keeps things kind of upside down for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, you can read through the article, follow the link. We'll link that over there. But Billy, in his infinite wisdom, why don't you talk about the poll you did on Anxiety United video, and we'll link Billy's video too.
So it's about, I don't know, it's probably about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. No, it weren't. I'm telling a lie. The poll was about 3 or 4 years ago. The video was about a year ago. But we basically did a poll on the top symptoms that affect people. So I made a list of symptoms that were popular amongst all sufferers, or a lot, and just told them to pick the one that was most prevalent for them, the one that really affected them. And we just left the list, and we had over 5,000 votes in the poll. And then I just collated the results, created a video, just putting them in order as we went. And we've got a list of the 10. And I don't know if we want to run through the list and just maybe touch on why they might happen. But we don't want to spend too much time on actually focusing on why symptoms are happening, because we're trying not to focus on them, aren't we? We're trying to get away from the reaction, and they're not important. But from the list, the 10th one on there was headaches. Should I just run through the list quickly?
Yeah, let's run through the list, and then we'll kind of break them down.
We've got headaches, we've got dizziness, we've got jelly legs or weak legs, we've got heart palpitations, sweating. I feel like I'm doing like a chart here. It's not a chart. We've got tension and muscle aches, shortness of breath, digestive problems, which covers all kinds of nausea, diarrhea, all the usual.
Yeah.
Rapid heartbeat, and the number one, which was chosen by, I think the percentage was like crazy off the scale, and that was fatigue and exhaustion being the most common symptom that affected people.
That's interesting. I think that probably is not so much a symptom of a panic attack, but anxiety in general.
Yeah, maybe the after effects of stress.
Exactly. So if you're always anxious and always at this, high level, it's natural to kind of feel worn out and beat up all the time. So that makes sense. So I think when we go through, and it was a pretty decent poll on your website, and then Billy has a video that talks about these top 10 symptoms too. We'll link that so you can go watch it. And the reason why we want to go over these symptoms, and we'll talk about a few of them and maybe why they happen for a little bit of reassurance, but this is not so much about comparing symptoms and really dissecting why we have jelly legs or weak legs. It's about learning to acknowledge how you feel physically, acknowledging the symptoms, and then moving on and not focusing on them. So we're gonna talk about them a little bit, which is focusing, but really what this video is all about is trying to learn to not react to them and not focus on them.
That's the point.
Yeah. So we wind up in a situation where we start to feel these things, and we'll use these 10 as a pretty good example. I'm sure that there's 100 others that, if you're watching the video or listening to this podcast, I'm sure you can you could probably throw 20 other symptoms into this mix.
And that's the problem, isn't it?
It is.
We'll always miss something, and somebody will then think, oh God, this must be something else because they haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
You do get that quite often. But that's not the case. We could sit here all day.
We could probably do a year worth of videos, just one symptom per video, and just keep going. So maybe what we should do is talk about that a little bit. I think one of the most popular topic that I think you would agree with this, that I see online where people gather to talk about anxiety and panic and things like that is comparing and checking symptoms.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Is by far, medication is also a big one. What can I take? What can I swallow? But I think, does anybody feel is the number one question. Does anybody get this?
Yeah. I need to know that I'm not the only one.
Exactly. And I think it's pretty normal. It's pretty normal. We want validation for the way we feel. We want reassurance that we don't have some special form of anxiety or some real disease that's going to kill us. So I think that makes sense. You want some reassurance, and you want to think about, especially at first, when you first go down this road, you really, really focus on your symptoms and how you feel physically a lot. And that's pretty normal. But once you've started to understand the explanation behind them, and you also hear that, hey, there's 10,000 other people within an arm's reach that also get jelly legs or weak legs. Once we understand those facts, if you will, about the symptoms, then it's time to learn to just not react to them. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So if we talked about maybe going through a few of these to just sort of explain them away, and I think we can use that as sort of an example of how you go through this process. So you know, we could maybe talk about the numbness and tingling, which is a big symptom for a lot of people. So let's kind of walk everybody through this. So you're experiencing anxiety or panic, and you're new to this game, and when it happens, you start to experience numbness in your fingers or toes, or tingling, or your nose can tingle. Have you ever had that, where your nose and your lips are tingly?
I had this exact same thing on Saturday night.
Sure. It's very, very common. So
yeah, it was.
What do we do, right? The first time it ever happens, it's freaking terrifying. You may wind up in a hospital. You think you're dying, and perfectly normal. Everybody goes through that phase. But when it happens again and again and again, what do we do? So what causes the nimbleness? The first thing you probably wind up doing is you'll go to forums, you'll reach out to other people and say, who else has this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who else has this? And then you're likely to find a million people who say, I have it too. And then you'll also start to find explanations as to why you have numbness. I cannot say the word numb today. Numbness and tingling in your extremities, or your nose, your lips, your cheeks. The explanation for that is the carbon dioxide levels in your blood. That's your breathing. So I learned that the hard way during a wicked panic attack, like my sophomore year at college, and a long time ago. I'm not going to say the year, but and I remember my nose started tingling, my lips started tingling, my hands and feet started to go numb. My hands actually kind of, you could see the camera, kind of wound up in this position, like in a claw, and my toes cramped up.
Yeah.
And I thought for sure I was done for, and we can explain that away because that is over breathing. So when you're doing that, or when you're doing and you're sighing over and over to try and relax, you're over breathing, and when your carbon dioxide levels in your blood get screwed up, you're hyperventilating, and that is a common symptom of hyperventilation. Absolutely 100% predictable. That is what your body will do if you overbreathe, which so many of us do when we get into a panic situation.
And it's a simple explanation,
right?
And you're probably across the board.
Yeah.
We ain't far off. Simple explanations for pretty much all of the symptoms and the sensations, isn't it?
I just got an odd message. Yeah, it's true. So let's follow numbness and tingling through to the logical conclusion that we're trying to get to here, which is not reacting to it. So now you've experienced it, even if it's new to you. You search it out, find out that other people have it on the internet. You find out what the explanation is for numbness and tingling. And in fact, if it were to continue to happen and you would keep over breathing, you would just pass out from hyperventilation and it would go away and you'd be perfectly safe. So now what do we do next? So now you're getting into an anxiety situation. What do you do?
Well, the thing for me
usually tingle.
Oh yeah. The thing for me though is once I've seen the reassurance or read and find the explanation,
right,
a couple of days will pass and then it will just move on to something else and we'll go again, and the cycle continues.
Okay.
I think that's people get so frustrated with. You'll have one certain symptom, you'll read about it, maybe it'll just pass in time naturally as it would anyway. And then you'll get onto something else. But then when you come, because it's like a loop, and you come back to the tingling fingers next time you have this.
Yes.
But because you've now learned something else, you forgot what caused this, and you just go again. That's what it does for me.
That's a really good point. So for you, once you kind of learn what it is and you've got that reassurance and you can explain it, you stop reacting to that, but you move on to the next.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
Okay.
I've just got to throw this out because I know I'll forget it. But during the last 3 weeks, I've been doing. Those who watched the video previously will see that I was caring for my dad when he came out of hospital. So I've been going to his house like 3-4 times a day, getting out of the house, spending hours at a time, and not thinking about myself. But the last week has been a bit more difficult. Like I've been doing his shopping and we've been eating a few takeaways, going through drive-thrus and that. But the thing that I've been using in my head is just telling myself that I love whatever it is that's happening. So, I was sitting in the drive-thru queue at McDonald's the other day, and I was feeling the weird sensations that I get when I'm sitting there. And I just said to myself, I love feeling like this. And it was weird. The power that it gave me just because I love this. I love feeling like this. And any symptom that I've come across for the last week, I've just thought to myself, I love it when this happens. And
That
it's really made a complete difference on the way that I've sort of carried it over. I've not thought about it. I've not dwelt on it. I've just like accepted. I
yeah.
love feeling like this, whatever it's been.
That
Weird,
that's
probably a bit.
no, that's actually really, really excellent because if we follow through the numbness and tingling to the conclusion here, which is to learn to let it be there and not react. You can't. What we're talking about here is not going into oh my god mode. Oh my god, I'm tingling.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
okay, you notice it. My nose is tingling. My lips are tingling. Move on. My philosophy would generally be, you just have to let it be there and don't react. Don't engage in an inner dialogue. Don't start talking about it with yourself. Don't start analyzing it. Don't wish it away. Don't white knuckle through it. Oh my god, I can't wait till this is over.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's
Let
exactly
it be there.
the opposite. Yeah.
Right. And I think, but your strategy
I've
that
just
you've
been
come up with,
welcome.
right,
Come on in.
is just as good. So for me, it's kind of I try and do nothing and just let it go. But yours is good, is really good. Like come on, bring it.
Yeah, yeah, whatever.
And
Love it.
I have used that from time to time. And recently I just used that. I know there's somebody probably listening or watching right now that has seen me do that.
Right.
It's almost an anger thing for me. When I use that, I get into that mode where it's like, that is all you got. Like, you got to bring more than, don't be bringing that weak shit into my house. So like I try and get angry at it and ask for more. And you're right. It tends to almost diffuse things really quickly.
The only problem that I have, I went to the shop with my wife like a couple of days later.
Right.
We're walking down the shop and I'm feeling a bit edgy and she's like, come on, you love this. And I'm like,
shut up.
Yeah.
I could say it, you can't.
Time and a place.
No, I'll say when I love something. That's really funny, but that's good. So we're talking about not reacting to symptoms. And I didn't expect to take this twist, but in a way, there can be a positive reaction too.
I was just going to say, just don't react negatively then.
Exactly. Don't react in fear. So you're either going to react with complete and utter indifference, and you have to learn how to do that, or you're going to react like you did, confront it. In some cases, I love feeling like this. I love when I can't feel my lips. It's awesome.
Some people pay to feel like that.
Okay, so let's talk about that for just a quick second. That is true. It
is very.
Some people pay to feel like that. So, lightheaded, a little bit dizzy, a little tingly, floaty, unsteady. There are people who pay good money to buy substances that make them feel like that on purpose. So that's a pretty good perspective right there. And it's all about how we interpret things.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the things that I wrote in the article, if you're reading through, is I gave a couple of examples. So if you're, let's talk about short of breath, because that's a big one. So if you're feeling short of breath, just let it happen, right? So there's a couple of ways that you can go that. And this is just an example. In the article, I say just let it happen. Don't run to an open window, to try and get air into your lungs, or standing in front of a fan to try and force air into your face. I've done all of those things. Yeah. What I tend to do with shortness of breath is, it's hard to ignore feeling like you can't breathe. It's probably one of the hardest things to ignore, because survival is what it is. But what I'll usually try and do is just stop for a second and actually take a breath, like a belly breath, deep into my belly, hold it, exhale. One breath into it, I could tell myself, I'm in perfect control of my breathing right now. So I might not be breathing very effectively because I'm in freak out mode, but I can control this when I want to. And then I move on. So with tightness of the chest, the same situation. I used to find I would be poking and prodding and trying to find different positions that it would go away, and they get all kinds of crazy stuff. And what I was doing is trying to escape it, and I was giving it a whole lot more power than it used to be. And the same thing with the hot and cold. For me, I used to get hot and cold flashes. The same situation. If I get really cold, I would run to the air conditioning duct or a fan, or I'd want to take my shirt off or something like that. And those are rituals that survived for a long time for no good reason. They're still in my repertoire. But same situation. You have to learn to just be hot or just be cold.
There was one for me the other day. My daughter had a bike for her birthday, and I was putting it all together, like fixing the seat and the handlebars and stuff. And when I'd finished it, my legs just felt so much. It was so weird. I just felt like I could barely stand. My legs felt really weak.
Interesting.
But then, I tried not to give it too much attention, but this is, again, reacting in a positive way. I stood here and just started doing squats and stuff just to prove to myself that my legs were fine. And then after I'd done that, I don't know whether I just hadn't woke up properly or whatever, but I just convinced myself that they were fine. Yeah. They still had strength. So I am kind of reacting. I don't know. but I'm trying to do it in a positive way just to confirm to myself that I'm in no danger. We're back to that. It's
Yes.
reassuring that
I think
statement in my mind.
that reaction, that is a very positive reaction, because it's the same reaction that if you're working with a behavioral therapist who's helping you with CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, those are exactly the things that therapist would ask us to do. So, because really you're challenging your thought, like, okay, my legs feel slightly different than they did 5 minutes ago. You know, I'm worried about this. I'm afraid of that. So I need to challenge that thought. And how can I challenge it? Well, I'll prove to myself that my legs are perfectly fine by doing some squats. So it's really solid. Or I feel like I can't breathe, but hang on, let me take an actual breath. I can breathe. I'm fine.
So rather than just using the reaffirming statement in your mind, you're actually performing an action.
Yes. Yeah. And so sometimes that's good. Like, you know, I have had to say to myself many times, like, hey, look, I'm still standing upright. Or I'll walk across the floor very slowly and deliberately and say, look, I'm in perfect control of what's happening right now. You know, let me pick up this phone, spin it around, and put it down. Look, I totally... But there's that fine line between challenging your thoughts through action and distracting yourself. So
exactly.
But so why do we not want to react to symptoms, really? When we react to them, what happens?
We're empowering them, aren't we? We're making them believe, and we're also making ourselves believe that whatever we're doing to stop it or to distract is going to keep it away forever, I guess.
Yes, that's true.
But that's not the case, is it? And they're not important. That's the main thing, is that they're normal physiological responses to stress or adrenaline or whatever it is.
Sure.
It's normal, and everybody would experience it.
And I think, you know, when you wind up in a doctor's office or a hospital emergency room with a panic attack, and how many times have nurses and doctors look at you? You figure you're one heartbeat away from the Grim Reaper, and they're all looking at you like it's just Tuesday to them. There's no urgency at all. You just you know, we've seen this a million times. Your body's supposed to be doing this right now, so you know, in a way, yes. And so when we pay them heed or we react negatively, oh my God, try and escape them, try and fix them, try and get away from them. You're right. We're reinforcing a mistaken belief here.
What a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that people that suffer with anxiety and that they feel the sensations more, or is it just because we're more aware? So is the rapid heart, if I have a freak out because a car is coming towards me, am I going to feel worse symptoms than a person that's never had panic and a car's coming towards them? Or is it going to be exactly the same? It's just that because I'm thinking about it so much, that it would feel worse to me, or what?
I
suppose the body's response is the body's response, isn't it? I guess.
Right.
Whoever.
So, and I try to think about that all the time. So, you know, if my heart is beating at 140 beats per minute, it's the same as your heart beating 140 beats per minute. It's the same exact thing. I think, you know what? I used to have, and I still have them sometimes. If I let myself get run down, I get an irregular heartbeat. It's completely benign. It's perfectly fine. They call PVCs benign PVCs, and every human heart has PVCs from time to time. And when it was explained to me it was explained to me by multiple cardiologists way back in the day, it's a normal part of a healthy heart. We all have them. You just don't always feel them. But when I'm run down, when I'm anxious, when I'm completely focused on my own body, I feel them like acutely. Whereas somebody else, when I describe it, will say, "Oh yeah, sometimes like I feel like I have to cough. It's like a little flutter." That's all. That's the only thing they think. That, oh yeah, once in a while that happens to me. They don't think about it at all. And so I think that we experience our symptoms more severely than other people, normal people, are experiencing those same sensations because we are so focused on them. That's my theory.
It's the awareness.
Yes. I don't know if they're any more severe. A human heart beats the way a human heart beats. You know, adrenaline is adrenaline. There's not that much variation in how our bodies react, really. So I just think when we focus on them, we magnify them in our head.
And that's perhaps where the problem with the safety stuff and the distraction and focusing so much.
Sure.
When we make them seem so much, or we're so aware and they just become everything. Your whole focus is symptom focused. It's just everything.
It is. And
the key is to lose the reactions to those symptoms and just get away from it.
And in certain ways, decouple the symptoms in a way. They're not, the symptoms themselves are not the disorder. And we talked about this last time.
Yeah,
We tried
yeah,
to go
you
this
made
way.
that. Yeah, you made that point, and it's spot on.
They are not. So when you have a racing heart or weak legs, or you're dizzy or depersonalized all the time, or any of the on our list here, we're shaking, throat clearing, that sort of stuff. That's not your anxiety. Those are symptoms or manifestations of the anxiety.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
that's not the disorder. So I try and decouple them and think like, well, if somebody on the side of the road just had a narrow escape, they almost had a horrific car accident, they may be sitting in their car right now with their heart pounding and they're sweating and they're all keyed up and they're nervous. And that person is feeling the same exact things that I might be feeling right now, but they're not afraid of that. They're not afraid of that. They're just fine. My heart's supposed to be beating right now. It's nothing. It's they're more concerned with the fact that they almost get hit by a giant truck, a lorry.
But then to be fair, if you'd nearly been hit by the truck, you would be probably thinking the same way they had. Because I find when I'm in a situation that's sort of beyond your control, you deal with it so much better.
And suddenly you become normal in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
It's
like,
really weird.
Wow, that was a really close call. I almost got slammed into the side of the road by this giant truck. And I'll feel anxious and my heart might be racing, but there's no anxiety involved in that.
Yeah.
So
you're not standing there thinking, "Oh God, here we go again." You're thinking, "Geez, that was close."
Right, and you're really focused outward onto the event that caused the problem to begin with. So, yeah, there's a lot to that. So, let's talk about how, because we're getting on 21 minutes now. I know we can ramble, you and me. So let's talk about how to start ignoring your symptoms. Your solution is pretty good. I like it. Like the positive reaction, challenge it, accept it.
Yeah. I'm trying to make it sort of a thing where I'm not constantly sitting there saying, "Oh, I love this, love this." I'm just saying, as soon as it happens or as soon as it enters my head, I just use it and then I just get rid of it, sort of thing. So I'm not using it as a distraction. I'm not sitting there saying, "Oh, I love this, and constantly thinking about it. I'm just saying it and moving on with it. So that's what's working for me at the moment.
Well, that's not bad. I think, the goal here is to acknowledge how you feel. Like, even if you were not taking that active approach like you are, you're going to acknowledge it. My heart's racing, and that's it. So you might take it another way. Yep, my heart's racing. I love feeling this way. And that's it. Yes. And now you move on. But the way we do this is with our coping techniques that we talked about. I think we already did coping techniques. The breathing, relaxation, clearing your mind. I believe we talked about that a while ago.
I used it on Saturday night. I'd been at my dad's and came home and I was hungry and just felt out of sorts. And I just took myself upstairs, lay on the bed for like 5 minutes. I didn't have any plan to come back downstairs or to do anything. I hadn't eaten at that point. And that's something with me. Like when I'm hungry, I start getting sensations. It's weird, but that's another day. But I just lay there for 5 minutes, cleared my mind, just regulated my breathing. And then I was up and I came back downstairs and everything was absolutely fine. So rather than spending 2 hours freaking and then probably ending up doing exactly the same thing, just chilling out for 5 minutes,
right.
But doing that straight away, even when I could feel it building sort of thing, I did it straight away and then it was done. And there was no panic and I just carried on.
I think that's great. And that's an illustration of you pop upstairs, lay down, and it sometimes is the hardest thing to do because what you're basically saying is, I'm not going to move, I'm not going to pace, I'm not going to run, I'm not going to fidget, I'm not going to... When you do that, you lay yourself horizontal, close your eyes, you have no choice but to be in those symptoms. They're just going to be there.
Yeah.
And that is super valuable to learn how to do that and just breathe and just let them wash over you.
I weren't sure whether that was sort of being defeated, though. Like, should I have just sat downstairs and just let it go and let the panic come over? But I don't know whether, that's a tough one to call.
I would not call that being defeated at all. I would call that progress.
Because I did do something to react to them. But the thing that I did, I don't know.
The best way I could answer that would be when I had to first learn how to do these things, I'd have to try and find a quiet spot away from people. I might need lower light. There were a lot of requirements for me able to do this. But as I got better at doing it, I could be having a wicked panic attack right now, and you would have no idea. So So that day, exactly.
The more that you do that and learn how to get in that mindset,
and you could do it anywhere.
Yeah.
So you're learning the skill or perfecting it. So now you did it upstairs, lying down in your bedroom, but if you do it enough, you'll be able to do it sitting in a chair in your kitchen. Then you'll be able to do it in your car or in the supermarket. It won't matter. So no, not a defeat at all. A step forward, I would say.
No, when you say it like that, it's
Yeah. So
learn,
anyway,
learn what works.
yeah. So I think the bottom line here, and I feel like we rambled a lot, but I think we've tried to acknowledge the symptoms, understand the process that everybody goes through, go online, check to see if everybody else has it, get validated, understand what it is, explain it, and then learn to use your coping skills or an active response like you have. Bring it. I love this. To just let it be. Trying to beat away your symptoms is bad. That the beating away or the running from the symptoms, that's actually the disorder. Like, I'm terrified of this. Exactly. I need to save myself from this. That's the disorder. So,
and that is anxiety.
Yeah.
You're becoming anxious about something else as well as not being able to go out of the house or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're now scared about going out of the house or sitting at home being dizzy or
right.
Yeah.
Because in the end, being scared to go out of the house is all about how you might feel when you go out of the house. If I go out of the house, I might get dizzy, so I can't go. So yeah, once we learn to not react to them and just let them be there, we've taken the power away. And when you don't fear how you feel physically anymore, you make a giant leap forward. Because I think we have to acknowledge before we wrap it up, I think the difference between saying, like, for instance, I'm afraid to leave my house, or I'm afraid to go to the supermarket. If you've been in a supermarket where there was a shooting, that's a different animal. You've experienced real danger in a supermarket, and you can quickly develop that phobia. But when you don't want to go into the supermarket because you're afraid that your legs will wobble and you'll have to hang onto the cart, or that you might pass out or anything like that, because you don't want to go to the supermarket, not because there's danger there, it's because how you might feel. So stop being afraid of how you feel. Just feel that way. Yeah. And so that's the case, that we can't react to symptoms. That's what this one is all about.
That's it.
Think we need to add anything else to this one?
No, just I don't like the search in the forums for.
I know.
I don't think people should do it. I think maybe if you can speak to your doctor just to get that reassurance, but going back and constantly seeking, I don't think that's not beneficial. I think once you know the answer,
right,
whatever, you just gotta trust in it. Trust yourself.
I think there's, we talk about Occam's razor, right? All else being equal, the simplest explanation is usually the one. And that's a real thing. That's a real scientific principle, or at least a logical principle. And so once you've seen 100 other people say, I get a headache too, or I get tired too, or I get numb and tingly as well, move on. So my philosophy on that is, in the beginning, everybody's going to search and Google and compare. And that's normal. But at some point, you have to draw a line in the sand for yourself and say, okay, this is my limit. I know why I'm numb. I'm not going to look at that. I'm not going to talk about that anymore.
Because no doubt you'll probably come across one person that had something bloody serious.
Right.
And then that's it.
Right.
That's another downside of searching, like especially at Google.
Right.
Don't use Google.
Yeah, and it's really difficult. WebMD, all those things. They're good sites, but they're also trying to give you the most information possible. So to find out that, like having to clear your throat could also be something horrible.
Yeah, and when you're sitting there suffering with a symptom, you're going to describe it in search engines as horrific.
Right.
Like the whole world is spinning and,
Exactly.
And obviously it's going to come back with scary things. But if you were to really put in, I'm maybe over breathing.
Right. But in the heat of the moment, we're not thinking about
exactly.
breathing. Yeah, we're just thinking that we can't breathe. Short of breath, can't breathe. So but you can. And in terms of the breath thing, after like 4 or 5 minutes of saying you can't breathe, when does the logical brain kick in and say, well, I have been not breathing for 10 minutes. That sounds silly, right, when you say it.
But I'm still able to type. Yeah.
Right, I'm typing, I'm texting, I'm snapping a rubber band, I'm coloring. Like, how could I? Of course I'm breathing. If I wasn't breathing, I wouldn't be able to do these things. So, yeah, so the key here is to take the power away from the symptoms and stop reacting in fear. And once you learn how to do that, you make a huge leap. So the next episode we're going to do is sort of accepting that there's no comfortable way to do that. And that plays into this a little bit. Like, just
definitely.
Sitting with those terrifying symptoms is horrifically uncomfortable, but there's no other way. So we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll wrap this one up because we're now going on about a half hour. As
like
usual,
symptoms.
Right? As usual, where symptoms. We can talk about it for days and days and days. What do we? How are people going to find us? How are they going to find you, Billy? They want to know more. Oh, you're breaking up on me, dude.
They can find the Yeah, yeah. Twitter, twitter.com/anxietyunited. You got me?
I got you now. You're
Can
back.
you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. I can hear you.
That's all right.
Audio's a little out of
Yeah,
sync, but that's all right.
Facebook, YouTube.
Yep.
That's okay.
It's always Anxiety United.
But all anxietyunited.com.
Sounds cool.
I'm thinking of redoing the website. I don't like the website at the minute. I don't like the idea of the social thing. It's just not. I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough to compete with Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook owns social.
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah.
I was thinking, and maybe this is completely off topic, but just like content sharing, like images and motivational stuff, maybe just for people if they want to use it, they can.
Sure. Well, anybody wants to check it out, they can. anxietyunited.com or .co.uk, either of those two.
Yeah.
So you can find me at thatanxietyguy.com. You can listen to all the podcasts there. YouTube.com/thatanxietyguy. Same thing on Twitter, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And as always, if you have comments or questions, throw them at one or both of us.
Down below.
I will link Billy's channel on my version of this video. I'm sure he will do the same back at me. I'll link Billy's symptom video, too, which has like a zillion views.
Yeah.
So you can, by all means, add to the view count. And I guess that's it. We'll be back next time.
Yes.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you in a little bit.